right, gentlemen, you received your instructions in the dressing room. Do you have any questions? Any questions from the chief seconds? All right, remember, obey my commands, protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves now, let's get to it.
Well, certainly a healthy response, a warm welcome for Mike Weaver from the audience assembled here at Caesars Tahoe. Dan, as I began to say, you've trained a lot of boxers. Is there a particular point when the weight training, which Mike Weaver has obviously taken part in, becomes prohibitive?
Well, he's been doing it at such a young age that it's never really cramped his style as far as throwing punches. As you know, in all of his wins, he's got 15 knockouts. The key right now is whether or not he can take a shot from Lennox Lewis.
Well, he wandered into Lennox Lewis and promptly wandered into a headlock. Lewis trying to get him with an uppercut. Excellent right. Well, as strong as Mike Weaver may be, he certainly has to cover. That was a vicious right by Lennox Lewis.
Lewis being warned right now not to hold on to Weaver.
Punch out, let's go, punch out of there. Come on, pick it up, come in.
Ironically, Lewis is the one that defeated Riddick Bowe in the amateurs during the Olympics, 1988. So he's got a lot to prove tonight to the American audience.
Lennox Lewis trying to throw body shots and then set Weaver up with an uppercut.
There goes Draculec again. What Lewis has been doing, Weaver puts his hands up to cover up, and Lewis has been using his left hand, his jabbing hand, to pull Weaver's hand down so he can come over with the right hand over the head. That's what Draculec is warning Lewis about.
Punch out, let's go. Come on, punch out of there, punch out.
Right now with Weaver, obviously he's trying to recruit from that first right overhand right that he got. But also keep in mind that this is his first fight since July of 1990. And you know, especially at the age of 40, one thing that George Foreman was very successful at on his comeback is that he stayed active. He fought month after month after month. And I think if you're reaching the older ages, not saying that Weaver's an old man, but as far as boxing terms is concerned, he hasn't stayed active, and that certainly should hurt him against a young man like Lewis.
That's certainly a fair assessment, Dan. You have to look at the activity currently of Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis fought in March of this year. It was a TKO in 6 rounds over Gary Mason from London, England.
But ironically, for a young fighter, up-and-coming fighter, Lewis hasn't been too busy. And the best thing for young kids to do, even Tyson, if you remember him coming up after the '84 Olympics, he fought and fought and fought. You never saw him really take any time off. It's usually after when they start making the major money, they're champion, that they start taking only 2 fights a year.
Well, as we near the end of round 1, it looks thus far like it's all Lennox Lewis. In fact, it is Lennox Lewis. Weaver trying his best just to cover and stay through this round.
Mike, you took this boy's best shot, man. You got to get your punches off, all right? Use your double jab to get in the inside. And then get off. If you're looking for opening, you got to make an opening. You hear me? All right, you got to make an opening. These boys, referees looking at you and everything, man. Don't look for opening. Okay. Make an opening. Double jab, when you get in the inside, move your hands.
There's that right hand that Lewis hit him with. Weaver did survive it. Here it comes with another angle right there. Weaver throws a left and Lennox counters it over that left hand. Weaver didn't bring it back quick enough.
Then, of course, Lennox.
Here it is. You see how he's holding him on the head right now? That's what Draculec was complaining about. He comes over with that right hand. There he is, pulling the hand down, trying to get it in there. That is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. Good job by the referee.
And interestingly enough, Lennox Lewis also with a hand behind the head that Muhammad Ali used to do quite often and get away with.
Well, Ali was able to get away with a lot during his years. He was able to talk those refs into things. Right now, Weaver was too busy trying to cover up rather than talking.
There's that setup from Lennox Lewis again. A couple of left jabs for that big right.
The This is the key round right now for Weaver. Terry Werner, his corner man, in between rounds, did tell Weaver that, you took his best shot. He's got nothing for you. Now, that's true. He did take a good shot first round. Usually that's a dangerous round for fighters. But right now, this is the key round, I think, for Weaver. If he can get by this round without Lewis doing any damage, I think Weaver's in the fight.
Another observation, Dan, is that Weaver has to get busy, and Lennox hasn't allowed him to get busy.
I think right now, Weaver's got his mind right now and being able to see what he can do with this kid rather than thinking about getting busy. He wants to see if he can handle this kid. If he can't, he might be out of it in this round. And what I mean by that is that he's got to be careful. He knows if he opens up right now, he could be countered, and that's how you get knocked out.
2 punches to watch for from Lennox Lewis. He has a strong overhand right. He also has a vicious uppercut. Either one of those 2 punches could put Mike Weaver out.
Well, right now, Mike doesn't look like he's got too much on his punches. Lennox keeps his left hand very, very low. It's certainly not wise when you're fighting the higher echelon fighters. Good right hand by Lewis there.
Once again, putting the left out, trying to set Weaver up, and then coming cross with that right. Lennox moves away from him. There's another strong right.
Weaver looks hurt right now. His legs look a little wobbly.
Lewis trying to break through the guard of Mike Weaver to land that right or an uppercut. I wouldn't be surprised to see another strong uppercut come from Lewis.
See, again, what Lewis is doing, and this is a young man's problems a lot of times, and this is why you got to fight veterans like a Mike Weaver. What Lewis should be doing, forgetting about, he's trying to go to the head too much. What he should have done is back off a little when Weaver was on the ropes and started hitting the body.
Low blow there by Mike Weaver.
Wasn't enough on it to hurt Lewis, even if he did connect low.
Certainly not intended. Weaver just trying to get something going, but I don't think he's going to get anything going this evening. Another right overhand from Lennox Lewis. That's going to be his staple throughout the fight. We come to the end of round 2.
Okay. You got to cut. No, it's not going to scratch.
No, please don't worry about it.
Listen,
Come here, right.
don't want you inside with him. You understand me? Don't get inside with him. Outside with him. Outside. When you get him on the corner, you get him on that ropes, take that step over and crack those shots, okay? Just crack. You know how we want that crack, okay? Once you're outside on him, no legs, okay? Let's get it over with now, okay? Let's get it over with.
Move your head.
Okay? Where's that jet on you?
And it's coming right over.
As soon as you throw that right hand on the ropes, drop down, come with your uppercut. See what I'm saying? Be ready to counter. You letting this guy hit you for no reason. You're going to take one, give one.
Okay.
All right, brother, let's get this.
Okay.
Take all that extra off. It is one.
Weaver being told by his corner, if you're going to take one, give one. They seem to think that Lewis is right for an uppercut from Weaver.
Well, right now, even if Mike did connect, he hasn't shown any power. Right now, we got a delay with Lewis. He's got too much grease on him. So they're wiping it off. Dracula seems to be, even though he's got a name that might be affiliated with sucking blood out of his people, but Dracula is a good referee. There he goes right down there, being off balance against Lewis. His legs are basically, this is what happens at his age with the inactivity that he's had. But I don't see anybody stopping. As long as he's not taking a beating, I think the fight's going to go on this way.
Well, Dan, we just witnessed a case where we had a cross between boxing and WWF wrestling.
Well, it's just a situation that we have with Weaver. His legs just aren't that strong right now. Lewis shows me a lot, but he is not as far advanced in his career, I think, as Riddick Bowe was at this stage. And I think most of that's because Lewis hasn't stayed busy and fighting the type of competition that Riddick has.
Dan, Dan, we have a young man, Lennox Lewis. He right now is 15-0. He's putting on a good showing against Mike Weaver, an aging heavyweight. How important it is for Lennox Lewis to put on a good showing. We have Dan Duva here, the promoter for Holyfield. We have an upcoming fight between Tyson and Holyfield. How important it is for Lewis to put on a magnificent show against Mike Weaver, and can he?
Well, the purpose of this fight was to get Lewis seen by the American public. We've got a lot of out-of-town riders here, and their main purpose of coming out was to see Lewis. But from what I can see right now, even though he looks like he's got a lot of talent, I don't feel he's ready for the younger heavyweights right now. And that includes the Morrisons, the Mercers, the Riddick Bows, the Orland Norrises. I just don't think he's got what it takes at this stage of his career. But he certainly looks like he's got all the talent. He sidesteps Weaver very well, but I just don't think he's applying enough pressure on Mike. Mike hasn't offered any offense, so because of that, he should be out there. Lewis should be out there right now, controlling this fight 100% and really having Weaver on the defense a lot more than he does.
Defensively, Weaver has also not shown much. There's been no lateral movement. He's shown no capacity to get away from Lennox Lewis.
Well, that's why I say that Lewis isn't ready for your top fighters right now.
Once again, referee Draculich cautioning Lennox Lewis, putting that hand behind the head.
But you can see that Lewis does have talent. It's going to take him a few more fights to get there.
Dan, let's say you're Lennox Lewis's trainer. Who do you set him up with next?
Right now, let me get right after we go to the round. I think we were going to go to Lewis's corner. No? Okay, good. I get to answer that now, Blaine. Well, right now, I think Lewis obviously can't think of anyone but Weaver. At the end of that round, he got hit with looked like the best punch that Weaver's thrown, a right uppercut. But at this particular point, if he goes on to beat Mike Weaver, I think what he's got to do is keep on fighting the veterans that have been the former champions, the Bone Crusher Smiths, the Picklin Thomas. Try to get those guys because you're going to learn a lot from them. Weaver's really not putting him in a situation where he's teaching many lessons because it doesn't look like Mike has much offensively left. But those are the type of fights. Here comes a replay from the last round.
Now, this shows the inability of Mike Weaver to offer any offense. He wants to set up. He tried setting up with some jabs for a right. He couldn't deliver.
Well, ironically, they both threw jabs at the same time. It looks like Weaver's connected the same time as Lewis's. I would have thought that Lewis's jab was a little bit quicker than Mike's. Like that. That's the type of jab that Lewis should be throwing all the time. It does look like Lewis has a little scrape above his right eye. Doesn't look anything serious, but it does look like a little scrape on his right eye.
Mike Weaver now showing a little bit more propensity to go offensive against Lennox Lewis, and he needs to. He's certainly behind after 3 rounds.
Well, this is the first round that Lewis has come out and actually used that jab. Now, see, that's exactly what he needs to do. And you can see he's got a good jab. Keeps it too low, though.
Well, when he bobs to his left, that right hand comes down a little bit. He's trying a little fancy activity now against Weaver.
Try that against the Tyson, and you're going to be patting your gloves, shaking your head, saying, why did I get hit with that right hand? Why he's coming up from his butt?
Dan, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned the name Tommy Morrison. Do you see Lewis fighting Morrison anytime soon?
Well, I know that TVKO is talking about a night of young heavyweights, and Lewis is certainly in their plans. But right now, again, I don't think he's ready to take on any of the top young rising kids. I don't think he's ready for the Mercers and the Morrisons yet.
Lewis's left jab seems to be doing some damage to Mike Weaver as his left eye begins to puff up. Begins to close a little bit.
Lewis has a little welt again underneath his left eye also. See, Lewis, for being a young kid, I mean, he should want to go out there and show everyone what he's got. And the only way you show what you've got is go out there and take Mike Weaver out.
Okay, break it clean. Let's go.
I'm a little surprised at this point, Dan, that Lennox Lewis is not all over Mike Weaver.
Well,
You think he is taken by Mike?
Well, no, there's 2 things that I think you're going to count that for. Number 1 is inexperience. Number 2, and I can't give this too much credence, but it seems that he's respecting him too much because if he didn't respect him, the inexperience would his youth would take over the inexperience, and he'd say, "Hey, I'm going to knock this guy out." But it seems like he's got a combination of inexperience and not and too much respect for Weaver.
Well, right now, Lennox Lewis continues to keep his left well below his belt at times. That does not bode well for him. It's a strong right from Lewis.
But now there he goes, backs off. You don't back off when you've got your opponent hurt. Not that Mike was hurt or stunned by that right, but he did back off. At that particular time, Lewis should have come with punches. You don't back off.
Well, as seasoned a fighter as Mike Weaver is, you would think that he would take that moment to breathe and gather his forces. This is a 10-round heavyweight bout between Lennox Lewis, the European heavyweight champion, and former WBA champion Mike Weaver. We go to the corner now.
You haven't worked too much on this guy, so right now you can start making your move. You rock that right hand when he throw a weak jab and try to get to the body. Bam, bam, them hard body shots, that's what we want, all right?
Well, the last round that Weaver and Lewis had was really a jabbing round. That's all they did until Weaver tried to open up somewhat, and that's when Weaver got hit with that overhand right by Lewis. Lewis didn't take advantage of it, though. He backed off right afterwards.
Dan, both men, their left eyes a bit swollen. What does that tell you?
Well, it just means that they both kind of swell up fairly easy because it has not been an offensive-minded fight. I mean, Lewis hasn't thrown that many punches, and Mike certainly hasn't.
I would also assume it shows that they're counting on their right. Lewis uses his left jab to try to break down the guard of Mike Weaver and deliver his right hand.
See, Lewis shouldn't allow Mike to come in with those type of punches. I mean, you can certainly see that that Weaver has not been very offensive-minded in this because he's been trying to protect himself from any onslaught from Lewis. But when Weaver can throw off 2 straight jabs like he did and Lewis just sit there and take it, it's not good. But again, it's a learning experience for Lewis.
Weaver now coming up with left-right combinations. It wakes Lewis up. Now we're seeing some activity, Dan.
Well, again, Mike paid for it. Again, when he opened up, Lewis came back.
Well, Dan, you're in Lennox Lewis's corner. He has had a chance with Weaver. He staggered him with a blow. He does not follow him into the ropes and go after him. What do you tell him?
I'd ask him if he's going to pat his gloves the whole night, or is he going to go out there and beat him up. And right now, Lewis, rather than all this, he should be jabbing, and off that jab, he should be throwing other punches. Goes in there with 3 jabs right there. He hits Weaver, and then he backs off. That's not going to, that's not going to win you fights against a good competition.
Lewis at 226 pounds. He's certainly not the heaviest. He's not the lightest, but he should be moving a lot more against a slower plotter like Mike Weaver, wouldn't you say?
Well, he's got 13 knockouts out of his 15 wins, but really the only name outside of Osio Casio who was past his prime when he also fought him was Gary Mason, who really wasn't considered a great heavyweight, but someone that they felt had some promise out in London, who he ended up stopping in 6 rounds. But Lewis does not look like he possesses that one-punch knockout. So he's going to have to be the type of fighter to go out there and take you out with accumulation of punches. But right now, he doesn't show that he throws any accumulation of punches.
Well, in the boxing career of Mike Weaver, you look at his ring record, and he is also distinguished by the men that have knocked him out, notably Larry Holmes, and you remember Dwayne Bobbitt.
Well, the one fight that I remember about Weaver was that fight with Tate when he was losing for 14 and a half rounds and ended up knocking John Tate out to win the world title. So you never count Mike Weaver out.
Former WBA champion. Fighting a much younger but very inactive Lennox Lewis, the current European heavyweight champion. We're coming to the end of round 5 at Caesars Tahoe. A heavyweight bout between Lennox Lewis and Mike Weaver.
Don't worry about it. Here you go, Hal.
All right. Nothing.
I want to see more on that jab. You can see it works now, right? Okay? You see it's working? All right, then. Let's stay with it. I haven't seen the playing field yet. Okay? I haven't seen that playing field jab yet. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? I want to see the playing field jab, son.
Is that the playing field jab? Is that what he's saying? Did I understand that right?
The playing fields of Eden. I believe they're somewhere in England.
If I was in his corner right now, I'd want to see a little bit more than just a jab.
Well, presumably they're giving the type of advice that you would have given, Dan, and sage advice that is too. Once you get a man staggered, when you have him in the ropes, you have the jabs as he did the last round, follow through. He's not doing that.
Don't get me wrong. I do feel Lewis does possess a lot of talent, but right now he's got a lot to learn.
And I believe we're going to see this pattern from Mike Weaver on the assumption that it goes past 6 rounds, that he's going to come out strong, and then he's going to take a breath. He's going to breathe. He's going to try to get through the round. Then he's going to start strong once again at the beginning of a round.
Weaver just complained a little to the referee about Lewis scraping him with his gloves. See, I mean, right there, Lewis is just trying to set him up rather than just going in there with the jab.
Come on, break it clean.
There
break
he
it
is
clean.
holding on.
Break it clean.
That's why I say he's just not ready. I mean, if Weaver was throwing punch after punch and hitting him and staggering or hurting him, stunning him. Oh,
Incredibly strong right hand from Lennox Lewis.
6, 7, 8, 9.
There's no question about it. Mike Weaver was set up with 2 left jabs, and then that incredibly strong right from Lennox Lewis sent Weaver to the canvas for a 10 count. You also have to think that that might be it for Mike Weaver in his professional career. Dan?
He's such a great man that I hope it is all for Mike Weaver. I know that he had a fairly decent payday, and I'd like to see Mike retire.
That knockout came at 1:05 of round number 6. It was set to go 10 rounds. It was a heavyweight bout between Lennox Lewis and Mike Weaver, former WBA champion. Certainly Lennox Lewis will go away, the European heavyweight champion, now with a record of 16-0 and 14 KOs. But Lennox Lewis certainly has some things to learn as well, Dan.
You'll notice with Lewis right here, right before he knocks him out, he set him up with a little jab, nothing major. But again, it was a jab. He comes over with the right, and he does connect. It's really one of the few times that he did it in this fight. Here comes the same punch, different angle.
Weaver almost seemed to look like he got the left jab in, was content, let his guard down, and the boot